It was a chilly evening on the outskirts of Los Angeles. The sun had just set, painting the sky in hues of deep orange and purple. Sandra Bullock, dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, pulled into a nearly empty gas station, her sleek black SUV running low on fuel. As she stepped out to pump gas, the distant roar of motorcycle engines echoed through the lot. A group of 5 bikers clad in leather jackets and heavy boots pulled up on their roaring Harleys. They were loud, laughing obnoxiously, and reeking of trouble. Sandra paid them no attention as she swiped her card at the pump, but soon she could feel their eyes on her. "Hey, sweetheart," one of them, a burly man with a thick beard, called out. "Need some help with that?" Sandra forced a polite smile. "No thanks, I got it." Another biker, younger and sporting a skull tattoo on his neck, stepped closer. "Come on now, no need to be shy. How about you let us keep you company?" She tensed, gripping the gas pump handle tighter. "I'm good, really." The bikers laughed. One of them, a tall guy with sunglasses even though it was already dark, reached for the passenger door of her SUV. "Nice ride. Bet it goes fast." Sandra's heart pounded. She wasn't scared easily, but she knew when a situation was turning bad. She looked around. No gas station attendant, no other customers, just her, the bikers. And a shadow moved across the lot. Unbeknownst to them, Keanu Reeves had just stepped out of a dimly lit convenience store, holding a bottle of water. He had been filling up his vintage motorcycle at another pump when he noticed the bikers circling Sandra. Keanu had seen enough. He strolled toward them with quiet confidence, his black leather jacket blending with the night. His presence alone was enough to make the bikers hesitate. "Hey," Keanu said coolly, his voice even but firm. "I don't think she's interested." The bearded biker turned, squinting at him. "And who the hell are you?" Keanu smiled, a small, knowing smile. "Just a guy who doesn't like bullies." One of the younger bikers tilted his head. "Wait, is that—" But the leader wasn't impressed. "Listen, pal, we're just having a little fun." He took a step forward, testing Keanu's reaction. Big mistake. In one fluid motion, Keanu's foot shot out, kicking the gas pump hose from the biker's grasp before he could yank it. The biker barely had time to react before Keanu closed the gap, gripping his wrist in a vice-like hold. "Fun's over," Keanu said in a deadly calm voice. The other bikers stiffened. They weren't used to someone standing up to them, especially not someone who moved like a trained fighter. Another biker lunged at Keanu, but with lightning speed, Keanu sidestepped, twisting the man's arm behind his back and pushing him toward the others. Sandra watched in awe. It was like something out of an action movie, only this was real. The gang finally got the message. Muttering curses under their breath, they backed away, climbing onto their bikes. The leader glared at Keanu. "You're lucky we're in a good mood." Keanu simply tilted his head. "Sure, let's go with that." The bikers rolled off into the night. Sandra exhaled, then turned to Keanu with a smirk. "That was impressive." He shrugged, taking a sip of water. "I was just watching a great actress handle herself. Figured I'd step in for the final scene." She laughed. "You really are the nicest guy in Hollywood." Keanu grinned. "Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my action hero reputation." They shared a warm moment before Sandra finally finished fueling up. As she got into her car, she glanced at Keanu one last time. "Hey, dinner's on me next time we run into each other." Keanu gave her a signature nod. "I'll hold you to that." With a rev of his motorcycle, he rode off into the night, just like a true hero. The end. Would you like any tweaks or additions to make it even more exciting? Sure. Here's the continuation of the story. Bikers harass Sandra Bullock at a gas station, unaware that Keanu Reeves is watching. Sandra watched as Keanu's motorcycle disappeared into the night, still processing everything that had just happened. She chuckled to herself, shaking her head. "Only in my life," she muttered before getting into her SUV. As she pulled out of the gas station, she couldn't shake the feeling that the encounter wasn't over. The way the bikers had backed off so easily, it felt off. And she was right. A few miles down the dark, winding highway, Sandra spotted them again. The gang of bikers idling near a roadside diner, glaring at her SUV as she passed. Her grip on the steering wheel tightened. Then, in her rearview mirror, headlights. One by one, the bikers pulled onto the road behind her. Sandra's heart pounded. "Oh, come on, seriously?" She pressed the gas pedal, hoping to lose them, but they matched her speed. Then, another roar of an engine. A sleek black motorcycle emerged from an intersection, moving swiftly to her side. It was Keanu. He glanced at her, then at the bikers behind him. His face was unreadable, but Sandra could see the gears turning in his head. Then, just like in a perfectly scripted action movie, Keanu took control. He swerved into the lane between Sandra and the bikers, cutting them off. One of the bikers honked aggressively, but Keanu remained unfazed. He motioned for Sandra to take the next turn. She did. Keanu then slammed on his brakes, forcing the bikers to slow down to avoid crashing into him. Sandra, now on a quieter road, watched from her mirror as Keanu pulled off some insane maneuvers, blocking, weaving, and outmaneuvering the bikers like a true stunt professional. One biker tried to swerve around him, but Keanu effortlessly shifted his weight and nudged his bike just enough to send the biker wobbling off balance. It was enough to make the gang reconsider. With curses and frustration, the bikers finally peeled off, speeding in the opposite direction. Sandra pulled over at a rest stop, breathing hard. Moments later, Keanu rode up beside her. She rolled down her window. "Okay, you're definitely getting dinner after this." Keanu smirked, removing his helmet. "I told you I'd hold you to that." They both laughed, the tension easing. "Thanks," Sandra said, her voice softer now. Keanu gave her a nod. "Anytime." Then, as if he hadn't just pulled off one of the most badass rescues ever, he casually looked up at the sky. "Nice night for a drive, huh?" Sandra rolled her eyes playfully. "Yeah, if you're not being chased by a biker gang." Keanu chuckled. "Good point." With that, they both hit the road again, this time side by side. One Hollywood legend saving another. The end. What do you think? Would you like another twist or a different ending? You got it. Here's the next part of the story, where things take an even more intense turn. Bikers harass Sandra Bullock at a gas station, unaware that Keanu Reeves is watching. Part 3. Sandra and Keanu rode side by side for a few miles, the tension from the encounter fading into the night. But something still didn't sit right with Keanu. He had dealt with people like those bikers before. Punks who loved to intimidate, but also guys who didn't like being humiliated. And tonight, he had humiliated them. Sandra must have sensed his unease. "You think they're gone for good?" Keanu exhaled through his nose, glancing at his side mirror. "I don't like loose ends." As if on cue, a pair of headlights appeared in the distance behind them. Then another. And another. Sandra cursed under her breath. "You've got to be kidding me." Keanu's jaw tightened. They want payback. The bikers were back. And this time, they weren't just trying to intimidate. They were out for revenge. One of the bikes sped ahead, swerving dangerously close to Sandra's SUV, trying to force her off the road. She gritted her teeth, gripping the wheel tightly. Oh, they picked the wrong night for this. Keanu revved his engine, moving quickly between Sandra and the biker. With precise control, he bumped his motorcycle against the thug's bike, throwing him off balance. The biker wobbled, cursed loudly, and dropped back. But there were still 4 more. "We can't keep this up forever," Sandra called out, keeping one eye on the road and another on the bikers. Keanu made a split-second decision. "Follow me." He took a hard right onto a narrow service road leading into the hills. Sandra didn't hesitate. She followed. The road was rough and winding, but Keanu handled it like a pro. Sandra did her best to keep up, adrenaline surging through her veins. The bikers followed, but the narrow terrain worked against them. One miscalculated turn sent one of them sliding into a ditch. Now there were 3. The road opened up to a scenic overlook, a dead end. Sandra's stomach dropped. "Keanu, I know," he said calmly, already forming a plan. They skidded to a stop near the cliff's edge. The city lights twinkled below, oblivious to the chaos happening above. The remaining bikers pulled up, their headlights glaring like predatory eyes. The leader stepped off his bike, cracking his knuckles. End of the road, hero. Keanu dismounted slowly, adjusting his gloves. "You really want to do this?" Sandra, still in her SUV, whispered to herself, "Oh, this is gonna be good." The leader lunged. Keanu dodged effortlessly, spinning and using the biker's own momentum to send him stumbling forward. Another came at him from behind, but Keanu countered with a perfectly timed kick to the ribs, knocking the guy onto the ground. The last one hesitated, realizing this wasn't just some Hollywood star. This was Keanu Reeves. Keanu turned to him with an almost amused look. "You sure about this?" The biker took one last look at his fallen friends, muttered something under his breath, and took off running. Sandra leaned out of her window. Wow, that was, surprisingly easy. Keanu smirked. They're not the first idiots I've had to deal with. The leader groaned on the ground. Screw you. Keanu crouched down beside him. Listen, you and your friends leave her alone. You leave me alone. And maybe, just maybe, you won't end up in the hospital next time. The biker gritted his teeth but nodded. Keanu patted him on the shoulder and stood. Good talk. Sandra climbed out of her SUV, looking around at the aftermath. So, does this happen to you often? Keanu chuckled. More than I'd like to admit. She crossed her arms, shaking her head with a smirk. You know, I was serious about that dinner. Keanu stretched his shoulders, nodding toward the road. Then let's get out of here before more of your fans show up. Laughing, they both got into their vehicles and drove off into the night, one Hollywood legend saving another, and making one hell of a story in the process. The end. Or is it? What do you think? Want more action or maybe a fun twist at the end?